Hello everyone and welcome to day 5. Sorry I couldn't be here today, but we're going to finish off this unit with the midpoint formula. So first, the midpoint is going to be the middle point because the midpoint stands for middle point between two other points. So this is the midpoint formula, and notice how it's written like a point because the key word here again is point, and points have an x and y. So this will be x and a y. So here's our midpoint formula. We've got x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. Now, I want you to also notice, if you know anything about averages, that this is the average between the points. Okay. So for a midpoint on a line, you could count it, or you can do x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That'll get you the midpoint. And then, of course, the same thing for this other one, but that'll give you an x and a y. And that's using that midpoint formula. So here's our line. We've got x here and y here. And we want to find the middle of them. So I'm going to add them together. So x is at -1. And then y is at 7, so I'm going to add them. And then divide it by 2. -1 plus 7 is 6 over 2. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So the midpoint would be right at 3. And if you look, 3 is right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 away from x. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4 away from y. So it's right in between the two. Next is w and z. W is here, z is here. W is at -5, and z is at 4, so I'm going to add those together. And then divide them by 2. -5 plus 4 is -1 over 2. That does not divide evenly, so that'll be our answer. So our midpoint is at -1/2. Okay. Find the midpoint of line segment MN. Here's M and N. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label our x1, y1 and our x2, y2. Now here's our midpoint formula. I'm just going to rewrite it over here so you can kind of have it ready. I know you all have it on one page, but I don't. Okay. So first thing we got to do is plug it all in. So first is x1, which is 1, plus x2, which is 7 over 2, comma, y1, which is 4, plus y2, which is 6 over 2. Now we simplify. 1 plus 7 is 8, and 4 plus 6 is 10. And one more step to simplify. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So that's our midpoint. Let's find the midpoint between these points. Again, first label x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to kind of zoom in. Set it all up. First we add our x1, so 3 plus -3. I'm going to put the -3 in parentheses so that negative stays separated for a bit, over 2. And then y1, 5 plus y2, which is 13 over 2. Now we simplify. 3 plus -3, if you put that in your calculator, 3 plus -3, that's 0 over 2, comma, 5 plus 13, that's 18, yep. And then 0 divided by 2, anything, or 0 divided by anything is just 0. And then 18 divided by 2 is 9. Okay. Next example, we've got our x1, y1, x2, y2. Plug it all in. So we've got -4 plus 0 over 2, comma, -7 plus 15 over 2. So -4 plus 0 is -4 over 2. And then -7 plus 15 is, let's see if I can do it in my head, 8 over 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. And then 8 divided by 2 is 4. So that's our midpoint. Okay, now we need to find, on number 5, we need to find the coordinates of point A if we know point B, and then we know the midpoint is 7, 10. So we're kind of working backwards here. So let's kind of set up a formula. First I'm going to deal with the x's. So we got x1 plus x2 over 2. That'll give me my midpoint of x. I'll call it m of x, kind of like that. So this is going to be my midpoint, m of x, and this will be m of y, and we'll deal with m of y later. And then this will be, we'll call it x1, y1, because that's the point we know. We don't know x2 and y2. We're trying to find it. So let's plug it in. First I'll plug in my x1, which is 10. Again, we don't know x2, so I'll just kind of put it there. And that'll be equal to m of x, which is 7. Now we just simplify. So I need to get rid of this 2 at the bottom, and since that's being divided, opposite of division is multiplication. So if I multiply by 2 on both sides, that'll counteract that division. So I'll have 10 plus x2 equals 7 times 2, which is 14. I had to do it to both sides. Remember, you got to do it to both sides. Okay, now we just solve for x2. Subtract that 10, and I got x2 is equal to 4. So for A, our point A, we know that x is at 4. We need to find y. Okay, moving on. Let's find y. Same kind of formula I'm going to set up, so I'm going to have y1 plus y2 over 2 equals my. Plug in what I know. I know y1 is 8. I don't know y2. And I know m of y is 10. Okay. First thing, I'm going to multiply by 2 again to get rid of that 2 at the bottom, but whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So I've got 8 plus y2 equals 20. Subtract 8, and you get y2 is equal to 12. So y is 12. So this is our A. So the midpoint between A and B is this point right here. So we just found that missing endpoint. There's other ways to do this too, and it'll be easier on a graph, but we'll get to that. Okay, find the coordinates of the missing endpoint if E is the midpoint. Great. So E we know is the midpoint. This is our midpoint, so our mx, my, mx, my. I'm just marking out on both. This will be my x1 and my y1. We're trying to find the x2 and y2 for point F, which we don't know. Okay, same kind of formula as up above. So I'm going to do my x's first. So negative 3 plus my missing x, we'll call it x2, over 2, is equal to my midpoint x, which is 1. I'm using just this same formula right here. Okay, multiply by 2, and I get negative 3 plus x2 equals 2. I need to add 3 to get rid of that negative 3, so plus 3 on both sides, and I get x2 is equal to 5. So I know x is 5. Okay, now I do it again for y. So I have negative 8 plus y2, which I don't know, over 2 is equal to 2. Again, using this same formula from right here. Okay, I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides, and I get negative 8 plus y2 is equal to 4. Add 8, and I get y2 is equal to 12. So that y is 12. that's my missing point. I'm going to skip number 7, and we're just going to move on to number 8. So in the figure, B is the midpoint of AC. We need to find the value of B, of lowercase b, this B. So midpoints cut a line in half, right in the middle, which means if B is right in the middle of those two sections, then this section and this section are the same amount because the midpoint is in the middle of them. If you cut it in half, the halves are the same. So since those halves are the same, then 3B plus 4 is equal to 5B because the midpoint cut them in half. Okay, so now we just solve for B. I'm going to move this B over to the other side by subtracting 3B. That'll get rid of it on the left. And then on the right, we'll have 2B is equal to 4. Last step, divide by 2 to get B alone. And I get 2 is equal to B. Okay. And number 10, we had an example like this yesterday where Paul and Susan are standing outside City Hall. Paul walks 3 blocks north, 2 blocks west, while Susan walks 5 blocks south, 4 blocks east. And we need to find the midpoint now between their two new locations. So first, Paul starts here. He walks 3 blocks north, so 1, 2, 3, and then 2 blocks west, which is to the left, so 1, 2. This is Paul. So Susan, she walks 5 blocks south, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4 blocks east, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is Susan. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label those points with an X and a Y. So Paul would be at -2 on the X, so X and -2, comma, Y at 3. Because it goes up 3. And remember, these are the same points from yesterday, so they haven't changed. Now we do Susan. We need an X and a Y. Our X is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, because we moved over 4 on the X. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We went down 5 on the Y, so that's -5. Okay, write down my points over here. We've got -2, comma 3, and then we've got 4, comma -5. Let's plug it into my midpoint formula. So I've got to add my two x's together. This is x1, x2, y1, y2. Great. So add our two x's together, -2 plus 4 over 2. Then add the y's together, 3 plus -5 over 2. -2 plus 4 is 2 over 2. And then 3 plus -5 is -2 over 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 is just 1. And -2 divided by 2 is -1. So that's my midpoint. And if I plot it on here, 1, comma -1 right here, you can see that's right in the middle. So here's my points with my midpoint. Now, I can connect these, and you can see that they're pretty much the same. But if I try to draw like a little triangle here between my midpoint and one of my points, one of my endpoints, you can see that this triangle has a side with a length of 4 and a side with a length of 3. So to get from P to my midpoint, I went down 4 and right 3. Okay, now, if I start at my midpoint and make another triangle to get to my other endpoint, you can see I went down 4 again and right 3 again. So those are the same triangles. So I can create another point going that same distance. It's kind of like slope, where it has the same slope, but it's right in the middle. So that's how we can kind of figure that out. Okay? Well, that's day 5, so that's the end of this unit. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll be reviewing, and I'll be checking days 4 and 5 homework tomorrow because I was not here to check day 4 today. So make sure you have everything ready. All of your homework is due for full credit by Friday. So if any of your homework's not done yet, get it done by Friday. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.